This is Chrissy.
This is Shirin.
And this is Two Girls Talking Shit.
Each episode will have deep discussion and conversation on topics that matter to us, ranging from wellness to politics.
Of course, with a healthy dose of pettiness, side-eye, and shade.
You ready, Chrissy?
You ready, Shirin?
This is
TGTS.
Hey, this is Shirin.
This is Chrissy.
And today we're going to talk about New Year's stuff. We obviously did not release a podcast episode right before New Year's.
In case you didn't notice.
In case you didn't notice. And we had the best of intentions to record it. And then both Chrissy and I we forgot.
Actually, we literally forgot. That's actually what happened.
The funny part of it was that we were hanging out the day we were going to record it that evening. And then in the middle of the evening, I was like, Chrissy, we were supposed to record a podcast today.
So that's what happened.
That's what happened. But, this is going to be coming out right after New Year's week. So, it's a great time to discuss, New Year's kind of pressure and also practices and rituals, whatever. But it can be a time when there's a lot of noise to change or to be different or to motivate yourself. It's stressful.
It's very stressful and so much noise. I feel like it's especially on the internet, just so much noise around this time of the year. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. But before we do that, yes. What's the tea? What's happening in your world?
Okay. Well, I want to say that people reached out to me to find out what I got for Raj.
Oh, yeah.
Listen.
We want to know.
Hashtag TGTS cliffhanger.
Right?
And by people, I mean one person. But
listen, that is people.
That is people. But I'm sure there's other people who are curious. So I got him a weighted blanket. And it was the greatest gift, everyone. He loved it.
That is the best gift. And honestly, I was at your house a few days ago and you weren't even around. And he told me about this gift. And he said it was the best thing ever. So she's not lying. He loves it.
He loves it because he has sleep problems and it's supposed to help with that. And so what's actually been kind of great is that he's addicted to the weight blanket now. He just sleeps with it. And I remember many years ago, a friend of mine got married and she's like, listen, the reason why we don't argue a whole lot is because we have 2 duvet covers on our bed. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, because nobody steals it. We just have our own jurisdiction on the bed. And I totally get it now. He's with his weighted blanket. I got the duvet. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I feel like it's a win-win-win. But y'all, I kind of almost messed it up. So I wrapped it. But this is a 20-pound blanket. It's heavy. And even when the postal person brought it, he got to the door, he was carrying it and he was like, this is for Shirin. And he's like, this is heavy. What is this? 20 pounds? And I was like, yes, sir.
Actually, yes, it is. That's exactly right.
So I wrapped up his gift and I actually did a really great job wrapping it. I'm pretty terrible at it. And then he was home and I was like, hey, can you help me? I don't know why I did this. I'm so dumb, but it was so goddamn heavy. And I had been carrying this thing forever. I was like, can you help me put this under the tree? And then he picked it up. He's like, oh, what is this? A weighted blanket? And I was like,
oh,
and
no.
I played it off so well. I was like, wait, I'm like, what's a weighted blanket? A blanket with weights?
Oh, that's so smart.
I mean, he says I did a good job, but I was like, damn. So
okay. Yeah, well, you played it off well. But
it's hard, when you're trying to surprise someone and you're pretty sure that you gave away the surprise 10 times before it happens. And then they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. But you are convinced that oh my God.
They knew.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
nice for him to pretend he didn't, even if he did or not. He loves it.
Exactly. He loves it.
And he told me it's the best sleep of his life. That's literally what he told me. So.
I mean, honestly, isn't that the greatest gift you could give someone?
That is the greatest gift. It's a gift of sleep. It does not get better than that.
So I would recommend to anyone out there who's been considering getting a weighted blanket, get it. It was I think I got mine on Amazon for $50 or something. It's great. He loves it. Our holidays were awesome. So yes. Now to you, Chrissy, you were home for quite some time.
I was home for over a week. It was a lot of home time.
Wow.
A lot of home time. I know. It's a long time. Especially since I was just home 2.5 weeks ago before that for also a week. So, it was a lot of home time. But I'm happy to be back. And I got a really amazing Christmas present. My sister bought me a vintage record player,
Love it.
and it's amazing. And then when I was home, my mom has all of these amazing albums that were just like in her basement. So
Wow.
I got to take so many of them home with me, and the rest of them I'm gonna bring them all eventually, but there's just too many. And I got some really good classics. I'm really excited about it. So I'm feeling very like cool. Yeah, I'm feeling really cool about this new thing in my life.
I
So I
feel like
haven't played them yet, but yeah, it'll happen soon.
I feel like you're completely Brooklyn now. Like you
Oh
are
my god, right?
totally,
That's how
absolutely
I feel
transformed.
too. It's like so amazing. A few months ago, I was in Wisconsin. And now I'm like, I belong here. I'm a
Who this?
total
Who
resident of
this?
Brooklyn now. Who this? New Year, who this? How about that?
I
But
love it.
anyways, yeah, that was my holidays. It was great though, and I'm happy to be back. And yeah, I spent New Year's Eve with you, which was lovely. So it was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So now that we're talking about New Year's, I don't know. Like, let's just get into New Year's hype. New
Oh my
Year's. I
gosh.
honestly, my phrase is like New Year's, same me. Really, like,
Really? Yeah.
it's a really, I think, you know, I do love the momentum, the idea of starting over. I don't love like the forcedness of this time of year where it's like, oh my gosh, it's January 1st. Let's do all these things. And so, what are some of your thoughts around this time of year and especially the pressure and maybe the stress that's put on us to like completely revamp our lives?
I 100% agree with you. Like the phrase "New Year, New You" should go away forever. Like
Yes.
there is no reason to be a new year. Besides the fact, what every year there's going to be a new you. What you're just so garbage that every year you got to throw your whole self away. Like, come on, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't need to be a new you every
All right.
goddamn year.
Right.
So I really don't like the phrase at
No.
all. And honestly, I just think it's very overwhelming around this time of the year. Because like even I think it's overwhelming for multiple reasons. It's overwhelming because people are like, these are all the things, like, what are you going to do this year? How are you going to change? And a lot of messaging around like, it's day one of 365 days.
Uh,
Where are you going to be at the end? Like, what are you going to do to make this different than last year? And
yeah.
I just think it's a lot of pressure. And I think that like also you come into this thinking like, oh, I'm going to do all these 10 things. And it's too many things. Like you can't do
Right.
all those things anyways, right? And you end up feeling like a failure if you don't accomplish those things. Or and also maybe you just feel pressure that you like have to come up with something that you're supposed to do. And maybe like your life is great. Like maybe you are enjoying things and you don't want to do anything new this year. That's totally cool. And I don't know, did you see? And again, this is no judgment. So if you're listening and you did this, and I don't know, sure, maybe you did this. I don't even really know. But people recapping their whole year month by month, like on stories and stuff.
Yes, yes, yes,
Did you
yes.
partake in that?
I didn't partake in that. It's funny because like I did enjoy some of them, but I don't know, some of them like uh I guess
I had
I
mixed
maybe
feelings.
I had mixed feelings too. It's such a weird thing about Instagram because it's like in a way it is a little bit performative. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And it's
right.
like so I had a lot of mixed feelings about that too. It's like, yes, it's one thing to like recap it for yourself to look for those things. I know we want to share those things for one another as well. And you know, there are people out there who are going to love seeing your recap, but at the same time, there is that like performative aspect of it. And I think, you know, for some, maybe the ones that I really did like seemed a lot more authentic and genuine, like a real celebration of their lives. And others that I feel like maybe made me feel a little bit, I don't know, queasy inside. We're just
Yeah.
more like this, like, I don't know, like greatest hits, Hall of Fame.
Wait, that's it. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're doing a recap of the year, why didn't I
Yes.
see anybody ugly crying? Because I know that happened. I feel like this was definitely like, listen, every month was a lot of great things. I want to talk about the bad things that happened too. If we're gonna do a recap, if we're truly recapping it, then I
Yeah.
think we gotta be some down things in there too.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm not a hater. Like, I agree with you. I think people celebrating their life is cool, but yeah, it was a little performatory for me as well, performative, and I don't know, mixed feelings. And there were a few that I was like, oh, that's so great, and then there were a few that I was like, okay, who was this for, really? Right? Who
Right.
was this for?
Right. And I think it's all, again, it's like in the intention of it all. And I think that's, I mean, that's something that's just so clear on Instagram. It's like you can suss out what's like a real authentic post or a real authentic like message as opposed to one that could literally be the same thing as someone else, but like the energy around it is just like,
Yeah.
I feel like you're just trying to prove something to me. And this doesn't feel like a recap of celebration, but like a recap of like kind of look at what I did, which is like, I want us to all big up ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Celebrate ourselves. But again, like, I think we all know that difference between that intention from where it's coming from. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, okay. What about you? What are your feelings about the new year, setting goals, all
Well,
the pressure that comes with it?
so this year I think is like exceptional because it's like also 2020. So it's like a
Oh my
new
gosh. It's a decade.
decade. So it's actually really funny because I was like, oh God, like usually you're just like for yourself, you know, like looking at your year, but now everyone's like looking at their decade.
Right? I don't want to look at that shit.
Honestly, I was like, how are people finding these photos from 10 years ago?
How do they know what they were doing all those years ago?
But having said that, so one thing that I would say for the new year is I used to like get myself all stressed out trying to like do all these things because I do like intention setting for the new year. I'll talk about that more, but I would try to do it before December 31st, and it would just be really, really stressful for me. And so over the years, I've really realized that like I can do that anytime. You know, like I can do it this today, in a week, in 2 weeks. And so I did actually this morning. So today is January 3rd. I had a little bit of time finally to myself. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm really feeling like I do want to maybe look at this decade. And it was actually really beautiful. Like I went on Facebook actually. And here's the beautiful thing about Facebook and Instagram is it is like this photographic evidence, documentation of our lives. And I was using that to recap and I was like, holy crap. Like it was actually really beautiful. It was just for me. I don't feel like anyone has to do that. But what I really do want to talk about is actually I posted about this last week before the new year is really taking this time and making sure that you're not reflecting, like making sure you're reflecting and not ruminating, you know,
Yeah.
over the past
Absolutely.
year. And like the difference between the two is like reflecting is like looking back at the year and kind of really seeing things for what they were and not having judgment, being able to celebrate what you like you did, what you accomplished, and then the places where you feel like maybe you quote unquote fell short, really looking at the life situations that happened, looking at those things as some sort of like wisdom and data, you know, the things you didn't get done, they probably weren't meant for you. It wasn't the right time to do them. And instead of judging yourself, which is what ruminating is like looking at the past, playing it over and over, using it as some sort of like evidence against yourself that you never get shit done, that you know. And so that is what I really want to encourage anyone who's listening to do is to, you know, really lean into reflection instead of ruminating, which I think is our natural tendency is to ruminate.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. And I actually, it's really good to hear that like you looked over like went to Facebook and like looked over all the last things. That's really awesome. I didn't think to do that. I mean, I'm honestly probably not gonna do it,
I
but
know.
not because anything's wrong with it. I just know I'm never gonna do it.
Yes.
But I do think this aspect of like not ruminating over the past is so important, and I think it can be really hard to not ruminate, especially when you're looking at what everybody else has done, right? And so my thought process too, when I was like looking at people recapping from where they were in the last decade, is there are a lot of people who did a lot of really amazing things, which is great, right? But again, if you're on the end in the receiving end and you're looking at that, it's really easy to fall into the trap of ruminating. Like, wow, they did all these things in the last 10 years. Like, what did I accomplish in the last 10 years? I did nothing, which is obviously not true, right? For any of us. So I think it's really important to just keep that in check, like you said, and you know, look at life what happened without judgment, which is so hard for all of us to do, I think. But yeah, really, really important at this time of the year, but like all the times of the year. And like you said, there's no right or wrong time to like set intentions for the year or for life, right? It doesn't have to be for the year. It doesn't have to be for the decade. I don't think it's necessary to be like, this is where I'm going to be in 2030. This is what I'm going to accomplish this next decade. Like for me, that's just too big to think about.
Yeah.
And also we may have talked about this before. I think the thing with goal setting that far in the future that can be really difficult too, is then you get locked into this is the way things have to be.
Yeah.
And you don't allow yourself like the freedom to let things happen how they're supposed to happen. You could be missing out on some other really cool things because you're so focused on this is what I need to accomplish. So yeah, that's I don't know.
No, I love that you brought that up because I actually did do another post, which I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this. But then I was like, got really curious. And I was thinking of 2009 me and like 2019 me. And it really made me realize how, like in 2009, I was just got out of grad school. I was singing full time. And that version of me was like, oh, obviously in 10 years, you're going to be a professional opera singer. You're going to be married. You're going to be like X, Y, and Z. And it was really actually beautiful to reflect on that, which brought home that point that you say that like, we do not know what's going to happen in 10 years. And the things that happen to us are beyond our imagination and beyond our dreams. And when we're open to that and we're not trying to like force this like plan or force goals that we have, like more incredible things than we could have ever imagined happen. And so I love that you brought that up of having like dreams, but being really flexible also to what life brings your way, both the good and the bad.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, this is so funny because 24-year-old me, now that you just said 10 years ago, right? 24-year-old me was married and I thought I'd have like 4 kids by now, right? If you guys are not watching, she almost spit out her soda right now.
I almost spit out my soda because I can't imagine Chrissy.
Me saying that, right? So think about that, right?
Yeah.
So 10 years later, things have changed. In case y'all know, I have 0 children and I'm not married. So things have changed. And I don't want 4 children either. So
right.
You're absolutely right. Like things can change so drastically. And that's an okay thing. When I look back at that time in my life, yes, I'm dressed. I don't even recognize 24-year-old Chrissy anymore, to be honest. But also I'm so in love with 34-year-old Chrissy that I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So yeah, you got to be open to like all the possibilities, even when you can't imagine what they could possibly be.
Yes. And having said that, like for me, I do love the idea of intention setting, and dreaming about the next year. And like, I guess you could call the things that I have some things that I would love for 2020 to, have in it.
Yeah.
But I've really learned over the years to not get, again, too caught up in them, and knowing that like, again, for me, dreaming is about like momentum and motivation. It's like fuel. And so it's not really about the end goal isn't what's important. It's just like that I'm doing something, I'm going towards something. And then, life may take me down another road or another thing. And so I would really like, if you're out there and you're thinking, but I really want to make like goals and stuff. Is that okay? And it's like, absolutely. But then I think what we have to look at is our relationship to our goals and how we kind of identify, like, are your personhood, your worth, your value, is it in what you accomplish this year, or like how you do this year and who you are this year, and mostly who you are to yourself this year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you touched on that because it's true. Like I absolutely have things that I would like to accomplish in 2020. Like that's just, of course, right? It's not like I'm walking around with like nothing, like, anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No, I definitely have things that I like to accomplish. But like you said, I'm not so focused on these things have to happen. I'm definitely not attached to how they have to happen.
Sure.
But again, with those, speaking of intentions, more of like how I want to feel this year while I'm doing those things, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, definitely our message is not that you shouldn't have goals. It's not what we're saying at all. Have your goals, but it's just like, how are you pursuing those? And are you feeling good while you're doing that?
Yeah, I love that. So Chrissy, again, around this time of year, do you have any practices or rituals or things that you like to do to kind of set the stage or set the foundation for the new year? Or are you kind of just like go with the flow and see what happens?
I don't necessarily have things that I always do, but I did have some things that I did this year. So the day before I came home, I did with my Reiki practitioner that's in Wisconsin. We did some energy work.
Did you just forget where you're from?
Is it was
Brooklyn
like,
you
where
are?
am I from? I'm like, oh my God, where's that place? It's like somewhere in the Midwest. They have a lot of cheese there. What is the name of that goddamn place?
That's how Brooklyn you are.
That's how Brooklyn I am. I can't even remember where I'm from. Okay. So anyways, I did some energy work with my Reiki practitioner. And it was very specific to just like, for one, like letting go of a lot of things and leaving things I didn't need with me anymore behind in 2019, just clearing out energy. So that was something I really wanted to do. And it was a beautiful session. And then I flew back here on the 31st. So I think it wasn't the first, it was like the second, because the first I was just like in the bed, not because I was hungover or anything. I mean, it would have been fine if I was, but I wasn't. Right. I'm too old for that shit now. So I wasn't hungover. But I was just like, whatever. So anyways, on the second, I spent some time journaling and setting my personal intentions for the year. And I think I may have got this from you, maybe last year. I don't really know. I wrote down like five, like what are the five feelings I want to have this year?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I did that, which was really great. And then I did set down, I guess, call them goals.
Yeah.
But more things I just want to accomplish in my work, more so than there wasn't anything like around like exercise or body or any of that. Like it was just about things that I want to do this year, and a lot of them included things like traveling more. So not even necessarily like huge things, but yeah. And I mean, honestly, like my thing for this year is that I just really want to have a great year, and that can mean a lot of different things. I know that sounds very vague. I want to have a great year, but everybody wants who doesn't want to have a great year, right? But
I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, like, I just really want to have a lot of joy and pleasure in my life this year. And so I'm open to however that shows up in different ways, because I think that can happen in a lot of different ways. So that's what I did. And I just spent some time, with myself and just really getting clear about what that looks like for me.
I love that. Yeah.
What about you?
Again, too, like I'm pretty flexible about it, and I'm gonna do it in the next coming days. Like today, I kind of got a start on it, but I love the idea of just having these moments in time where to pause and to just reflect, right? And this is one of the ones that's kind of like in our society, which is this like Western New Year. And so for me, it's like kind of reflecting on the past year and even this decade, right? And just because like again, our minds are so like geared towards looking at what we didn't do, and to really take that time to look at what you did do is really kind of really beautiful. And it like just, it makes you feel real good. So to look at all those things that you did do and that you experienced and all the good times, so that I love doing that. And then again, what you said, I like to create, my 5 feelings for the year, how I want to feel in 2020, and then try to think of the things that would help nurture those feelings and experiences I can have, and the people that would help me kind of do that. And as you were talking, especially because I was thinking especially of the field I'm in, which is about self-development and self-growth and coaching and all that. And I think for people who are going to create goals and, like, for instance, I'm thinking of one that like is often out there, like, I'm going to read a book a week or whatever.
Right.
Which is cool, which is great. I know some people really did do that. It's like really know why you want to do those things.
Right.
Like have like a really good why. Like, why am I reading all these books? Is it like because everyone else is doing it, or is it serving some greater purpose and is nourishing something within me that I want nourished, So I really love to know my why, and it may be a great goal, like, like reading a book a week, although that's very excessive for me.
That's an excessive amount of reading. And I love reading.
And I love
reading, but that is excessive.
But yeah, but like, why? Like, why do I want to do that? So I think that's a really good thing to think about, of whatever our goals are. Why do I want to do it?
I think that's so important that you said that, because again, and you see, like, it's so easy to be like, you see someone else doing something, like, again, we're going to go stick with the example of the book. You're like, oh my God, that's so great. I should do that too. But why? Like, I don't know, maybe they're doing it for a very specific reason, right? But that doesn't mean that it's something that you need to do for yourself just because X, Y, and Z is doing that particular goal. So, and again, like, I think there's, in our society, we definitely have like this pressure that like you just got to be a better person than you were last year, right? And so you come up with these things that are supposed to make you a better person. And again, like, why are you making up those, or why are you deciding to do those things? Like, what is it about that that's going to really serve you as a person? So I think that's really, really important to think about. Why are we doing the things we're doing? And
having, like, now speaking like my industry has those issues. What about your industry?
Oh God, the fitness industry. This is the worst, actually. Like,
it's the worst time of year.
I think that this is the worst time of the year, for all the reasons. Because here's number one. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I really didn't post anything about this because I'm actually just tired of hearing people in the industry talk about it, period. Right? Because like on one side, you have everyone saying like, this is the time, like you ate bad over the holidays, get in shape. Here's my 7-day jump start, whatever. And then on the flip side, you have also like so much of the opposite messaging, which I think
Right.
is important, right? It's important. The anti-messaging is really important. But then I'm starting to think like people just probably feel overwhelmed with all of it, right? It's just so much
Yeah.
talk about it, right?
I know.
It's just a lot. It's really, really overwhelming. And one thing about diet industry that really, or the well, this is diet industry, diet culture industry, but fitness industry, they're all the same to me, basically.
Yeah.
The one thing that really is like annoying to me more so than recently is because I think people are trying to be more savvy about like, oh, I'm not a part of diet culture. So like they try to like I don't know. They're doing the same thing in a different way. So, for
Right.
example, they're like, this is a 7-day jump start, but it's not to lose weight quick. It's because you just want to feel healthy or you just want to feel good. And it's like, it's all the same thing. And the fact that you're like starting a new challenge in January for me is very indicative of what you're actually doing. So, yeah, it's really overwhelming for people. And I feel bad for people because like even when you don't want to be like I almost feel like if you really want to like disavow diet culture, you just like need to stop following fitness people in general, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just really too complicated. And I feel really hard for people who are like trying to unlearn those harmful narratives around their body while also constantly being barraged with all this messaging about being in a smaller body or even
Mhm.
like, pictures like before and after pictures. I think those
Mm.
are really triggering. I'm not a fan. I've said this multiple times. I'm not a fan of before and after pictures
Mhm.
even from people who I think do great work. I just don't think it makes sense to me because it's still the same messaging that something was wrong with your body and this is what it looks like after.
Right.
Right. So I'm just like not a fan of it. And I just, yeah, the industry has like so many problems, just all of the problems. We could do a whole episode about
I
that,
know.
honestly. Because
Yeah.
when we start talking about like the body positivity community, one of my huge annoyances with that is like, women, thin white women mainly, that are like posting pictures of themselves showing off like a little bit of cellulite or like a little
Oh,
body
wait.
roll.
No, yeah. Especially post holidays. We're like, oh my God, I ate so much. And that's totally okay. And I'm like, bitch.
You still have a very acceptable body. I don't want to hear you talking about it, right?
Oh, those are my least
Those are
favorite
the
posts.
worst.
Those
Those
are
are the
the
worst.
worst where they're and it is so manipulative.
It
You know what I'm saying?
is.
And in a way that it's co-opting this movement, this beautiful movement of just body neutrality. Everybody is beautiful. Everybody is just a body, like worthy body. And it's like, bitch,
You don't
you
belong
like a
here.
yeah.
It's not for you. And it's really frustrating. I'm not gonna keep going on that because
Yeah.
that's a whole episode. But yeah, I just think it can be really hard for people. And even when you want to ignore that message. You don't
Yeah.
want that to be a part of New Year. It's everywhere you look, right?
Yeah.
It's on TV, it's on Instagram, it's in the
Well, it's
magazines at the
such an easy
store.
sell. It's such an
It's an
easy
easy
sell.
sell, right? Such an easy sell, and it's a really intentional sell. Like it's because they want you to buy their thing or do the thing or buy a new whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's over. It's a lot. It's a lot.
And I was also, it's interesting because I was also going through my photos from the past 10 years, and
Oh
my body
yeah.
obviously has changed over the past 10 years, as a body should and does. And that was really interesting too, of just seeing those changes and reflecting on the person I was then and the result in my body and what was going on in my life. And then the narrative of diet culture, like at one point I did have a little smaller body. It's not even by that much, but like how there's a part of me that like idolizes that time. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, but
Absolutely.
it's like, so it's really undoing all this too. So that is part of this too. As you look back on the 10 years, right? You're gonna see a different version of you. And then it's like, how do you navigate that?
Yes, 100%. And one thing too, I'm so glad you brought this up because one thing, like with a lot of my clients, is I always tell people, like, kind of what you said. Think about where you were at that place in your life, right? Because
Hmm.
I know for me, there was a part of my life where I was much leaner than I am now, but like I was not in a good place,
Right.
right? So it's always remembering that too. Like, yes, your body was smaller, but what did you do to make it that way? What did you do to
Hmm.
have to maintain it? Where was your mental health at that time?
Hmm.
And just remembering, yes, I'm not in that body anymore, but like I feel really healthy. I have a good relationship with food. All of those things are things that we have to take into account. And also just remembering that being in a smaller body doesn't mean that you're necessarily healthy or
Yeah.
healthier, right? How about people who were like really ill and they
Yeah.
lost weight because of that or depressed, all of those things. So it's triggering. It can be triggering,
Yeah.
but it is just really mindful to think about not only what you look like, but where you were at
Yeah.
that time.
And also just what your priorities were, because when I was
Yes.
when I was leaner, I was actually doing it from a very like it was pretty, I mean, come on, it's diet culture, so it's never
Right.
healthy, whatever.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like hating myself. It wasn't like, but also like I was like, I was trying to get a boo.
You were in the gym. You were getting it in.
Like it was like that time of my life where it was just me. I didn't have a partner. I
Right.
didn't have like my own business. It was just like me and the world. And I was, and so
You was trying
my
to look like a snack. I get it. I get it.
my priorities were different.
Yeah.
Life was different. Things were so different. And so to try to like, it's like almost like, when like a little kid's trying to put like a square peg into a round hole. It's like, that's what you're trying to do with your life when you look back
Yeah.
on that time and you think, oh, well, I did it then. Why can't I do it now? And it's like, because you're not the same person. You maybe don't really, why do you want
Why
it
do you
now?
want to do that? Exactly.
And I knew I wanted it then. I'm whatever. Was it healthy?
Nothing wrong with that. You could do
But-
what.
But it's just like it's really looking at that and like seeing who you were then, what was important to you then, and for me that was important then. It's
And
not
priorities
important.
change.
Yes.
Right. Priorities change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And also I 100% agree, because it takes, like, again, when I was in a smaller body, it took me time to maintain that. That's just the reality of it, right? Like, I spent a lot of time in the gym. And listen, I do have the time. I just don't want to do it.
Right.
Right. So yes, I could theoretically be back. I could go do that thing, but it's not important to me anymore. But also, you might not have the time anymore because other things take priority.
Yes. 100%.
And your relationship with fitness, your body, all those things are always going to be changing. So yeah.
100%. And so I think around this time of year, for me, it's really about leaning into compassion. Like when you look at things and you're like, thinking, oh, I should have, I could have, whatever. And then also like, I would really encourage people to like lean into possibility and lean into getting super excited about 2020. Like,
My
who
God,
knows what the
yes.
fuck's going to happen? Like, this is exciting. It's exciting.
It's exciting. Yeah.
And so really kind of, just lean into possibility. That's what I would really recommend.
I 100% love that, because one of the things I did see a post about, I actually saw several posts about this, is that also, like, so much could happen in this year, right? Like, it could be literally the best year of your life this year, whatever that means for you. And so, like, yeah, like, just get excited about all the possibilities. That's how I look at it. Like, wow, this year's gonna be amazing. I don't know what's gonna happen yet, but like, it's gonna be a really good year. And to just really expect that it's gonna be a good year, right? Like, listen, some crazy things are happening in the world already. Some things happening today. I was on Twitter and they're talking about World War III. Listen, I didn't need that energy. I did not need that energy starting in January, right? However, regardless of that, I'm still expecting the best for this year. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. I'm expecting it to be amazing. And so I just think having that level of like, yeah, I want this to be all, but it might not even turn out that way. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no promises, but why not expect the best?
Yes. And it's like, it's all nuanced, right? Like, just having the best year doesn't mean that all the most amazing things happen all the time. It's like, there's going to be good and bad things, and that doesn't make a year like the worst. I was listening to if anyone's into Abraham Hicks, I love me some Abraham Hicks.
Me too.
And she said something that was like, she's like, life is like a buffet. Like, there's 100 options. Are you going to like all the options? Like, no, you're not going to go eat those things. Like,
right.
And that is going to be 2020. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds of options. And some of those options will be ones you don't really like. And we have the choice to focus on those things that we do like, to focus on the things that we do want to go back for seconds, and so really looking like when, and like when people are like, oh God, it's, and they're funny memes when they're like, second week of January, already fucked up. Like, can't wait for 2021.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but at the same time, it's like a great year is not defined by like not having bad shit happen to you,
No, because we would never have a great year if that's the case. It wouldn't be possible, right?
No.
And I'm not ready to throw away 2021. I mean, no, not 2020. I'm
2020.
I'm not ready to throw away 2020. Okay, so this is unrelated, but it did make me laugh this week because you've seen people talking about it's the Roaring 20s.
Right.
And there was a meme, like, it was from a Black person. They're like,
Obviously.
I remember the Roaring 20. I don't remember, but I know it was happening and
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to that. No, thank you. So, anyways,
Oh, white people.
white people.
White people. But I also will say this, so I'm Iranian and we celebrate our new year in March. We celebrate the spring equinox. So it's March 21st. And so I always actually felt really blessed to have that because like it was a second time
Perfect.
it's that time when you're like, oh wait, let me check back in again. And so I would really recommend is to have like maybe a halfway point, 3-month point where you do, maybe that's the time when you want to reflect. Maybe that's the time that feels good to you. I was listening to like many years ago on another podcast, Call Your Girlfriend. They had this woman on and she said that every month, whatever your birth date is, right? So like mine is August 18th. So she would say like on the 18th of every month is her personal inventory day, which I loved. And she was like, on that day, like I like reflect, I like, check in with myself. I make all my appointments. I do those things that I've been putting off. And I was like, I love that.
That's a great idea.
So this momentum and this energy that's around January 1st it's arbitrary. It's a totally arbitrary date based on our Western calendar, which not everyone in the world follows, And
also not smart. It's kind of a dumb calendar. But
it is.
That's beside. I'm not going to say it, but it kind of is.
I mean, it's a leap year. So, Chrissy has a leap year brother, right?
I do. My brother's leap year baby.
So I would just also recommend that to if this doesn't feel right to you, or if it does feel right to you, but just have other dates in the year where you're going to check back in with yourself,
Yeah, I totally agree. This doesn't have to be the one time of the year that you set intentions or any of those things or reset them. Like that can happen anytime, all the time. It doesn't have to be this now. And if you are feeling immense pressure because of this time of the year, we're giving you permission right now to just let it go, right?
Yeah.
Do it when it feels good for you. And that's totally fine.
Yeah. And that should be your intention to do it.
That's your intention. Yes.
And if it doesn't feel good to make resolutions or to look back on the year, don't
do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
All right. Chrissy, any other thoughts on the new year?
No, I'm just happy to be in the new year. I'm gonna be honest. I was happy to leave 2019 behind. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm excited about this year. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Okay, so our asking for a friend is actually looking into the future a little bit. February is Valentine's Day month. And for people who are single, it sometimes can be like a difficult time of year. Also, it's like cuffing season. And I feel like everyone's like, oh, I just want to like Netflix and chill with someone. So Chrissy, do you have any ideas of how to like navigate the kind of that time of year and like, just deal with those feelings?
Yeah. So here's the thing. For one, I've never really been personally a big Valentine's Day person because, I mean, let's be honest, I'm not poo-pooing on the idea of Valentine's Day because it's a lovely idea to show people you love your loved ones, you love them, but also like it doesn't have to be that one day, right?
Yeah.
Like you can show people you love them year round. So if you don't find yourself booed up on, I'm going to be single on, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing that I'll be single in February. Unless somebody wants to boo me up, then call me. No, I'm just kidding.
You have 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks.
5 weeks to decide. No, I'm kidding. But so I'll probably most likely be single on Valentine's Day. And like, I don't know, like I think it's totally okay to be single on Valentine's Day. It doesn't mean that you aren't loved, that you're not special, or that you should rush out like to get on a dating app now so that you can get booed up by February 15th, Valentine's Day. I wouldn't suggest that necessarily. So I just think, feelings of loneliness are real. That can be a real thing. But I also think, so one of my favorite books is The Untethered Soul. And there's like a whole chapter on loneliness, and that like loneliness is an okay feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like you can sit with loneliness, you can get used to that feeling. And actually like when you're okay being by yourself is when you're in a better position to be in a relationship with somebody. And also running to find someone to fix your loneliness, probably not the best way to handle it. It's not going to work out as well as it probably could if you were in a better place emotionally. So, treat yourself for Valentine's Day, right? Like you can make it, if the day is important to you, you can make it a really special day by yourself, right? You can make it a whole thing, or you can go out with girlfriends, right? Because your loved ones doesn't have to be in the form of a romantic relationship.
Yes.
So you can absolutely go out with girlfriends. You can make it a whole night by yourself, treat yourself. Like there's so many things you can do. And I think looking at this particular day as like a failure if you don't have someone to show you that type of like romantic night that you may have envisioned for yourself, it's not a failure at all. And I think if anything, it's an opportunity to just be to do something nice for yourself, to think about, again, what is it that you really want in a relationship anyways? Why do I want a relationship? All of those things that we talked about. Because I really think it's really simple to get booed up, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on, we could all get booed up tomorrow if that's what we
Yes.
really wanted. But we don't want to be out here with no trash. Okay, that was me. Sorry, I retracted. Nobody is trash. I take that back. I didn't mean to say that. What I'm saying is,
some people are trash. Some people are.
What I'm saying is, like, you want to be with a human that is worthy of all that you are. And so, like, take the time to meet the right person. And it's okay. It's okay being by yourself. And you know what? If you're really feeling lonely, shoot me a message, a DM. I'm going to be myself too. And I'm like, girl, you got this. I'm going to show you some love on the internet. But I think, honestly, we put so much pressure on those types of days. And maybe we get really sad because we see, again, on the internet, right? Everybody's showing their, like, dozens and dozens of roses that they received, or like these special things or proposals. Also, just stay off the internet that day, right? Like, you don't have to go on the internet Valentine's Day. Stay off and save yourself all of those feelings or things that might be triggering to you. So those are my thoughts. What about you?
I love everything you said. I totally agree. You know, with things like this, like Valentine's Day, like, it's not Valentine's Day that's bumming you out. It's how you're perceiving what you're thinking of Valentine's Day. So it's my favorite question to ask. It's like, I'm single on Valentine's Day, which means that. And like, literally write down all those thoughts in your head of what you believe to be true about yourself because you're single around this time of year. Because what it's not bumming you out that you're single on Valentine's Day. It's all those thoughts you're having about yourself that you're single. And so it's really getting clear on that and knowing, I love everything you said, but like, you know, when you get booed up, you will want that alone time. You will want that time where you can just treat yourself, spend all that money on you, do whatever you want. And so take this time for you to do that and to like treat yourself really, really well. Because, and again, we talk about this, but like, if you don't know how to treat yourself well, if you don't know how to take care of yourself, if you don't know how to like show love on yourself and shower yourself with love, then you really can't, you know, tell someone what you need and how you need it. And, you know, so it's really important for us to get clear on how we like to be loved. And we have to learn that language first ourselves, right? Because we can't teach someone else if we don't know.
Absolutely. That is so great advice. I love that.
Thank you. I just thought of that, but I was like, it's true.
That was good. It is true.
I honestly think one of the reasons why, you know, me and Raj's relationship worked so well is we had that lonely time where we really got clear on what our language of love and affection and respect and all of that is. And so I can tell him with such clarity.
Right. Because you know.
Because I know.
Yeah. And I think what you just said too is so important because I think, you know, so often like people are searching for this partner to complete them. And like, I actually don't like that verbiage at all because another person cannot complete you.
Yes.
Right. And so I think that periods of loneliness, again, getting comfortable and really knowing yourself, just know you is so, so important. So yeah, don't look at it as a bad thing. If you're in a period of loneliness, look at it as a blessing and time to get to know yourself better and time to do exactly whatever you want to do.
Right.
Because you don't have to consider those feelings, but your own, right? Like take advantage of that. So yeah.
I love it. And also like we're to feel the feelings, like feel the sadness, feel the frustration, feel all of that. But again, like, it's just like, okay, feel it. And then like do something for yourself that feels really good. Like I remember I used to like kind of around that time, just really pack my calendar with things I wanted to do because it would also distract me because it is a bit of a bummer sometimes. And so yeah, I would just really encourage you to just try some new things in February and see what you like, see what fills you up. Yes.
Fabulous advice.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Yeah, I feel like we covered January and February. We're done.
We're done. We're done. We have solved your problems for the next 2 months at least.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, if you want one of your questions answered on the show, you can DM us. We are on Instagram at 2 Girls Talking Shit. Is that our name?
That's it. Yes. That was very much a question. 2 Girls Talking Shit. Yes.
I wasn't sure it was TGTS, but it's 2 Girls Talking Shit.
2 Girls Talking Shit. Yeah.
And we would love to answer your question live. So yes.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of TGTS. If you like today's episode, please subscribe, review, or leave a comment for us. And please share the TGTS love. Until next week, bye.